Council. This is Laverton, and this will be the last town we're in now before we get back here early next week. Laverton store, and down the street towards the caravan park. Fire and rescue. The Great Beyond, Explorers Hall of Fame or whatever. Church there. And we just fueled up over there at the service station. Hospital up across the road. And the Amberdell Highway leaves Laverton. Okay, we're heading about 140 kilometres the other side of Warburton. We won't do that today. We'll probably get to Chukalera. We're actually going to stop and have a look at some rock holes and things on the way. The first one is Claypan Well, and that's about 55 kilometres from here. We're on the dirt section. We're about 28k out of Laverton, and you do see other traffic on these sorts of roads. There's been a lot of rain through this area of recent times, and as a result, instead of being all dry, it's fairly green out there. This is about the fourth or fifth one I've seen in 35 kilometres. You get these little rocky ridges all the way through the desert. These ones are fairly close to the road. Some rather interesting wearing of the rocks in amongst that lot. Very interesting. This little bridge formation here, quite large, you could shelter in there. Recently frequented by kangaroos, they've been using it as an ablution block. This is right beside the road. As I mentioned before, these ridges are all through the desert. One's a fair way away. This Claypan is marked on the GPS as an unnamed lake. It's just off the Great Central Road. But the interesting part of it are these cattle yards. Well, I assume they're cattle yards. Been here for a long time. Well, I went looking in the bush for the Claypan Well, and this was right beside the road, and it's only 100 metres or so down the road. I took the fixing off a map. Maybe this is actually the Claypan Well. The Punajara Well. As I approached it, I saw a heap of horses taking off in another direction. Wild horses possibly, but this also looks as though it could be a station. Maybe they belong here. Before I left home, I sat and pored over a map and picked out a whole heap of waypoints down the Great Central Road that I wanted to look at. Murray's Bore was one of them, and this is it. It's right on the edge of the road. Normally you'd fly past without even looking at it. It certainly means life for some animals out here though. The way has changed from a gravel road to a limestone road, which explains why this, probably in about 700 or 800 metres off the road, is called Limestone Bore. Bit of water around here, as you can see from the trees growing around it. Just to let people know that they shouldn't be swimming in that. And back on the Great Central Road, as you can see, there's more limestone than red dirt. This will change again just up the road. Here's what I don't understand. We're on limestone, and the road line across the road, and it changes to red dirt, just like that. Well, I've been watching this plume of smoke or dust or whatever it is for quite some time now. It's been there too long for it to be a willy-willy type thing. Wonder if it's a fire or what it is. It's going straight up, whatever it is. Guess we'll find out shortly. It's the direction we're heading in. There's my answer, it's definitely a fire. As you get closer, as you get closer you can see that it's not red dust, it's black smoke. And there's definitely a fire out there, and there's a fair bit of country around here has been burnt too. That seems to be confined to one spot. Okay, I've come in a little way in off the Great Central Road. I'm not sure, but I think this is the Eurothurra Rockhole. These rockholes fill with water when it rains, and the animals come and drink from them, and some of them tend to perish in them as well. Either that, or those bones have been left by people who have been camping here and then chucked them in afterwards. The rockhole's there and a campfire. A stone can of sorts. If we look back up the track, there's only one, but there's 3 wrecked cars on the way in, which makes me think this is certainly an Aboriginal site. That's what the desert looks like up here. Right in the middle on top of the rocks up there, an emu. There's a couple of them up there actually. Okay, this site is a sacred Aboriginal site. And apparently an Aboriginal who had become a Christian came here, was camped in the caves down below that we'll look at in a tick, and apparently saw the light and became a Christian and went back and became ordained as a minister. And these are the lands that it overlooks. Those 2 emus we filmed when we came in here were probably drinking at this rockhole. In fact, we're sure they were drinking at this rockhole. It's amazing, it's less than a fortnight since we had all the rain here, and that rockhole normally would be running over there. There'd be a waterfall running down into the chasm there. This is a very special place. These rock caves around here, and I believe there's Aboriginal art, some Aboriginal paintings within them. This is some of the rock art within one of the caves. Okay, 64 kilometres up the David Carnegie Road, and we're at Empress Spring. Eric Charlton unveiled this in November 1996. David Carnegie arrived at the site on the 11th of August in 1896, and he named it Empress Spring. Also, the road was officially named the David Carnegie Road. Despite the rain, there doesn't appear to be an awful lot of water here, but there is a chain, a rope ladder or a ladder leading down into the cave. Not being the fittest person on earth, I've chosen not to go down and have a look in there. Chris went halfway down and decided to come back. There appears to be no water in the place, despite all the rain we've had. Someone didn't make it. Wheels off on that side. Already started stripping the car by the looks of things. As the plane swings away below us, windmill to the right, Chickarilla Roadhouse just there to the left, and the familiar yellow sign telling us that we've got the airstrip ahead of us. In this particular case, the airstrip is a strip of bitumen 2 kilometres long, and we'll be on that once we leave the roadhouse. ...318 kilometres from Laverton. Out here, of course, all the fuel bowsers are all locked away. We mentioned the airstrip. Here it is. It's the Royal Flying Doctor airstrip at Chickarilla. Now in a place like Warburton, you still have to vote. So what's happening here is that the electoral officer and his crew are flying around the communities getting the votes. Problem is that the shuttle bus didn't turn up to pick them up from the caravan park to take them to their plane this morning, so I've volunteered to do that. This is what I'm doing at the moment. Just dropped the pilots off and I'm now about to head back and pick up a couple more and get them out to the airport. We'll catch up with these guys tomorrow afternoon out at Wanarn. Now there's 2 planes here, and this is the stupidity of our system. I've just been told that the other guy I've given a lift to out here, that was going to come out standing on the back of the car, mind you, past the police station, is Senator Mark Bishop, the Labor Party guy. Now, because he's a Labor Party guy and these guys are from the electoral office, he's not allowed to travel with them. So he has to travel in a different plane. Isn't that ridiculous? The amount of money that's being spent to get these people around the place, and we have to hire 2 planes because of potential political expediency. That's the plane carrying Mark Bishop. So this is the Warburton Roadhouse, and attached to the roadhouse is the caravan park. I've already done a shuttle out to the airport this morning. Now it's time to get on the road. We're about 50 odd kilometres north of Warburton at the moment. This is the countryside outside. It's the road running through rolling sandhills. Just ridges, probably 700 or 800 metres apart. That's what they look like. Sparsely vegetated in some cases. The patches of this. The early guys would have had some fun fighting through all this stuff, that's for sure. And then it just suddenly thins out again. And then more sand hills, a bit of background there. And they had to try and fight their way through that sort of country as well. And then all of a sudden it'll open out and it'll be just a plain with spinifex. Nothing much else. Just like that over there. Here we are, just a kilometre further on. Now there has been a fire through here, so Naturally the trees are sort of stripped a bit bare, but you can see that it's still even a little bit more open than what it was back there. This is just a couple of kilometres further on. Now it's opened right out, and again there's been fire through here, so it looks a lot cleaner because of the trees, but you can still see there's not a lot of trees out there. And again the sandhills. Over in the distance I believe the Jamison Range. Including Mount Rawlinson. It is a very flat country, so you do notice when hills suddenly jut out of nowhere. As we swing around from there, more likely sandhills and a man-made thing. I'll stop because I've seen a range of mountains in front of me. It makes me think that maybe that's not the Jamison Range I was looking at, but the Barrow Range. And maybe the Jamison's in front of me. As I turn around and come back and have a look, I see this on the side of the road. So, what the heck is it, I thought? And we've got a hole in the ground full of water. I don't know whether it's an ancient rock hole or not. It's not marked on the map. But there it is. And the trees over here, abundant bird life. Trees just full of them. So these rock holes very obviously have fair attraction for the birds. And there's the hills I stopped to look at. It's amazing, isn't it? I stopped to look at those and found something else. It just shows how easily you can get mistaken. This is what I was looking at from back there, thinking it was another mountain range in the distance. In actual fact, it's a ridge of sandhills and probably with some rocks going over them. The land is so flat that anything that's raised looks enormous. Signs of wildlife on this road since I left the bitumen. A couple of camels up ahead of us up here, right in the middle of the road. Now they're right by Warakurna, which is a parking area come camping area, which is in these right by these sandhills here that we thought was a mountain range. And these camels are parked right on top, right near the entrance to the park. We'll come back and look at those a bit later. We're going to go and have a look at this camping area. You actually drive in off the road a wee bit, and as you come over the top you've got a view of the hinterland. This camping area is set up just a little differently to most of the others. Most of the others have got the bins and that sort of thing set up, and they're generally sort of road stops are well back off the road. This one actually has a drop toilet set up, also has a barbecue set up here as well. You've got to use your own barbecues, but it certainly is quite nicely presented. Sort of sit around and eat your barbecues in there. Little tractor for the kids to play on. And there's the drop toilet just over the back there. Have camped here in the past. It really is quite nicely set up with a nice backdrop. Camping areas up in under the hill there as well. Very nice. Up there, looking down on us. Just grazing in the grass. So obviously there's a herd of these things around here. He's taking a wander. Meanwhile, our friends from the road have taken a little wander off into the bush over there. They're curious about us as well. They're big blokes. I guess we'll see plenty more of these. I've been out shooting them out here recently. There's over 600,000 camels in Australia, and they're doubling every 7 to 8 years, and they do a lot of damage. They take a lot of feed that native wildlife don't have access to after they've been there. And some of our native wildlife is dying out as a result of that. But with that, the feral cats, foxes, all imported by the white man. More camels on the road up ahead. Just wandered off to the left hand side. There's some in the road as well. I was looking around wondering if there are any more around at the moment, and here they are. Just got to be careful along here though, just don't suddenly walk out in front of you. There's a lot of little babies, there's a lot of little babies there. Okay, this road here takes down to Jamison, Blackstone and Wingelina. They're the Aboriginal communities. It's also to the WA South Australian Northern Territory border, which is more commonly known as Surveyor General's Corner. There are other ways into that, obviously. Down the Mulga Park Road, which is now the old Gun Barrel Highway. This is another way down. This is the Wanarn Rockhole, spelled T-J-U-L-I-N. And this is just over the road from the Wanarn Aboriginal Community. And again, when I pulled up, there's a few birds around the place. This one's pretty full of water, because there has been a lot of rain up here just recently. And the countryside's very green. There's obviously been a few camels around here, muddying the water and stuff as well. Looks like another one just over here. Small one there. Another bigger one here. This one's in off the road a bit. Unless you knew where to look, you probably wouldn't find them. I'm interested about the cage that's over the top. That was what was over the top of the other rock hole that we looked at back along the road. That's not marked on the map. This is in about 300 metres from the main road. In towards Wanarn. Straight ahead now we get two hills bumping up. That's Mimi. Two hills. I was wondering how long it would take us to find them. There's been a lot of rain and shooting activity around here as well. And there's been a lot of evidence of camels on the road. And apparently there's been a lot of them running through the station, through the community. Here they are, just sitting taking a bit of a rest on the side of the road. Moving off the road for a change. A whole herd of them just here. Pretty scraggy looking lot. There's a whole herd of them. There's our two humps. Emmy is the name of the rock formation, I understand. Just over here is a hill, and the Wanarn community is nestled underneath the hill. This is the Wanarn International Airport. That's the airport staff out there. Camels. You wouldn't want to land the plane while they're around. And that's the international terminal right there. Just in case you're not sure where you're landing, there it is written on the front, Wanarn. Strip disappears into the distance that way. And into the distance that way. Meanwhile, grazing out in the grass out to one side out there are the whole heap of camels. There's a truck going past. That's all you see is dust. I hope there's not another semi-trailer in behind it. You come over the hill and there, right ahead of you, is the Rawlinson Ranges. It's a big country and it's so flat, and come over the hill and you see a sight like that, it's amazing. And directly behind you, that's the countryside. Been a lot of rain out here, and now with the sun coming out, things are starting to flower. Up to the side of the Great Central Road, this is what it looks like. And then rapidly, or just as rapidly, it changes to this. Flat plain, no trees, and in the distance, the Rawlinson Range. This is the Rawlinson Ranges. The Gun Barrel Highway runs between here and there. We're now approaching Giles and Warakurna. Giles Meteorological Station was built in 1956. Just a few camels for you. We're somewhere around 13 kilometres out of Warakurna, and I'm pretty certain that this is the end of the abandoned section of the Gun Barrel. I'll take a little run up there and just see. Now, interestingly, this road that we've just been traversing that we think is the Gun Barrel Highway, according to the GPS, we're right on track. There's a sign here that says Warburton to the left, and the road goes straight on, and I'm betting that the sign that I can see in the distance there is a sign that told Brett and Truckee that the road was closed, and they just about stacked it up there. Let's go and have a look. Okay, Brett, there's your sign, road closed, unsafe from this point. And there's the road that you and Truckee came down. pretty safe now. Okay, this is now a couple of kilometres up the Gun Barrel Highway. The last time we did this was in the rain, it was dark, and we were heading the other direction. That's what we travelled down. And then this is the direction that we're actually travelling in. However, back then it was night time. It was all underwater. Okay, we're now heading back to the Great Central Road. Right in the middle of that picture is a snake, just slithering out the way. Okay, this is Warakurna, and this is the Rawlinson Range. It's 6 o'clock local time, PM, daylight saving, and the sun's just shining down on them. Beautiful sight. Absolutely fantastic. We're on the side of the Great Central Road, and just in there's a cross. Now this cross is marked off about probably 150 metres off the road, and it's the grave of a lady called Gladys Randall, who died in May in 1996. Now she was 74 years old. Why she was buried out here we don't know, but it's just off the edge of the road, and unless you know where to look, you'd never know it was here. The back of the cross tells you that she's from Anguston in South Australia. There's a wreck on the side of the road, and if you go directly in from the wreck, there's the cross. This is the Swarran Mural Crescent. Directly ahead is Gill's Knob, or Gill's Pinnacle, that's where we're staying tonight. This is glorious. I photographed it in the morning, and I think it should be photographed or videoed at night with the sun shining on it. It's a beautiful range of hills, this one.
It's got something on the seat.
So we're going into Gill Pinnacle. This is where we're staying tonight, and this is the track we're going in on. Well, it's Saturday morning, and this is where we've been camped for the night. Really a beautiful spot. It proved to be a little bit popular though. We had 5 companions, camels, that wandered around the camp all night. When the water's running, this is where it runs. Down there, into this pool at the bottom. It then flows further down and behind us, and continues its way down the hill. Reflection in the pool. As we take it up, it's the water's edge, and just have a look at this rock face. Isn't this fantastic? Absolutely amazing. Why it just doesn't let go and drop, especially while I'm here, who knows. If you're prepared to climb, so you reap the rewards. What a glorious view from here. After a somewhat awesome climb, there's this little gorge here. We're obviously when the waters are flowing, there'll be a waterfall there, then the water seeps through and down there where we started from. The backdrop from there is the majestic Gill Pinnacle. And what a view out down the valley. This is the track out of Gill Pinnacle where we've been camping for the night. It's been expressly designed for people in sedan cars and caravans.
Especially designed to keep people out.
That too. Now we're back on the Great Central Road, and this is really part of the sandy Blight Road. That's where we were camped last night, in underneath that hill, Gill Pinnacle. Now this road is built by Len Bedell and the Gun Barrel Construction Company. As he went along the way, so he put plaques on trees, just to let people know who was in the party, when they went through and when they did it. That's the plaque. Okay, so there's the tree in context with Gill Pinnacle and the rest of the Schwerin mural crescent. This is up the sandy Blight Road. Pretty flat country really. Gorgeous. And then if I turn to my left, this is the back of the Schwerin mural crescent. This is just the most beautiful country up this part of the world. And then if we swing further to the left, we got the Petermann Ranges. They run along the Great Central Road towards Eurothurra. Now here's a surprise, something that you just don't expect to see. You're driving through the desert and you get a grove of desert oaks. Beautiful. Just driving into the Bungabiddy Rockhole. Oh yeah? Okay, this is the way into the Rockhole. Okay, this is the Rockhole, and normally it's watered about 2 to 3 feet deep. And despite the fact that there's been rain here in the last couple of weeks, there's nothing in here at the moment. What little water is in here at the current time is fairly soiled, and unfortunately these waterholes are here for feed, and animals actually feed from them. The problem is camels come in here, they really stir them up and they drive the native animals away. There's the Rockhole. We have a look at the water line on the other side. That's how deep it normally is. The water will be this colour for a number of reasons. One will be because of the camels and the stock that have got in here and messed it up. The other is because, of course, there's practically no water in there. When it rains, the water flows down through that gully, I'd imagine, down into the Rockhole and then along and out through the front. And just growing out of the side of the rock up there, it's a tree. It's way above the ground. Well, the ground we're sitting on anyway. There's plenty of life in the pool. Are they bugs on top of the water?
Yeah, those same things. They're just not...
Well, this is the way out. Now we're heading towards Wingelina. Whilst the Schwerin Mural Crescent is one of my favourite mountain ranges that I've seen, it's also one of the most awkward to say. Who on earth would call something like that? Ernest Giles, 22nd of May 1874. Named it after the Princess of Schwerin. Now we're on the Giles Mulga Park Road, or the original gun barrel. Bend in the road and there's a Len Bedell marker right there. For the last 60 or 70 kilometres, this has been about all we've seen country-wise. But now coming in the range, Some hills on the right hand side, we think that's probably the Murray Range. Directly ahead of us now is the Tompkinson Range. We're not sure whether the highest peak there is Latitude Hill or not. It's a very warm day up here at the moment, and underneath the trees the camels are all just lying down in the shade trying to stay cool.
She's going to stop, take a photograph too. She's going to get out of the way.
We're heading for Surveyor General's Corner, the meeting place of the West Australian Youth Northern Territory and South Australian borders. We're passing a windmill, which would suggest there's water close handy. Now, this is the first peg here. And there's another one 500 metres down the road. We're going to go to that one first and then come back to this one.
Oh, there's not much there to indicate.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
There's the other peg right there.
So it's got something written on top.
We've just come through a cutting in the Blackstone Range. We're looking for a camping spot down the back here. We're just behind the Blackstone Community. And oh, what a view. Absolutely gorgeous. It's late in the afternoon, it's about 5:15 West Australian time, 5:45 Central time. Central local time, that is. Where we camped last night is called the Blackstone Hills, or Blackstone Range. And that's probably the reason why, because the rocks, they're a black colour. Something a little different. And this is the track out. Rock formations in the Blackstone Range. It's very dark rocks. We've decided to leave the main Blackstone to Jamison Road and head around via a place called Lightning Rock. And this is the road we've found up on. So we're certainly going to see some countryside that you normally wouldn't see, and this is what the desert is. Meanwhile, we're running alongside the Blackstone Range and heading down, we understand, for the Kavanagh Range. Well, we crest a sand hill, and there ahead of us is the Kavanagh Range. These ranges of hills just keep coming. It's incredible from a point of view that the country is so flat, and all of a sudden you get these mountain ranges just pop out. It doesn't matter where you go out here, but there's heaps of camels. There's some just to the left of the road ahead of us. Now if I swing around right over to the right, there's quite a herd of them out there. I don't know if there's a water hole there. We're trying to figure out whether these are rabbit holes, goanna holes, what. There's a fair stack of them, and I stood there and it broke through, just about disappeared into one. There's the entryway into this place. Travelling alongside the Cabernet Range. Things you find in the bush. Our way forward is starting to get a little more interesting. It's starting to get a little bit more overgrown, and the track's getting a little harder to follow. We'll just keep an eye on the GPS and see where we go from there. And what's more, there is water in the bore as well. The further we go along this road, the more obvious it's becoming that it gets used more from the other end than it does from this end. And we wonder whether or not the bore was the main reason for the access from the other end anyway, and whether the track was used for hunting. Well, this is something that's not marked on the GPS. The shed back there is a bore. There is a tank up there. The GPS tells us there's tanks here, but there's a back a wee bit. There are some weird shaped spinifex things out here. How about that one? Donut effect. Or this one here. This is still desert. This is only a few kilometres, probably 10 or 15 kilometres from all that dead, flat, no trees type of desert we were showing you not so long back. It just changes so much. Sand ridge running alongside us over there. We're currently encountering heavy sand dune country. Well, we're out of the sand hills and back into open plain again. Pretty rugged going through them. Just wondering whether that is lightning rock that sits over there. Soon find out, I guess. Well, this looks like our target. According to the GPS, we're heading straight for it. We are heading straight for it. The lightning rock. It's been an interesting journey so far. Now we have come to a fork in the road. We were originally going to go that way to Windburn Rock, but we've decided now that we're going to go to Jamison instead. So we assume that's the road we're going to take. Everything's well signposted out here. Well, we have no idea where this road came from, but all of a sudden we're off a bush track and onto this, and yet this is on the GPS as being the road we were aiming for, so whether there's a new community or whatever out there and the road has been graded on through to that or not, but nevertheless we should be in Jamison in about another 15 to 20 minutes. As we make our way into Jamison, there's the Jamison Range in the background, and here we approach Jamison. This is the road from Jamison up to the Great Central Road. Currently just general type desert country. We're even letting Chrissy have a drive of a real Land Cruiser.
Don't be cheeky.
We're approaching the southern turn up to the Wanarn Community. Geez, that was soft. You could have thrown it around that corner. There we go, camels. Now they're going to run on the road and then run down the road for a couple of miles, as they tend to do. Even camels need a bit of a rest in the middle of the day. Well, we're on our way from Wanarn to Perth. We've had one of the teachers has rolled a Land Cruiser already today. We're looking for somewhere to camp for the night, and we've come off the Great Central Road down an abandoned section of it, found the sentry into this gravel pit, and this is where we're going to stay the night. Got water around, the ground's all nice and firm after the rain they've had. Should be good. Okay, it's sunset. We've got our camp. There's a gravel pit that's absolutely full of water after all the recent rains. A couple of trucks running up the main road at the moment, which is actually a couple of roads over. And we've got ourselves nicely set up. Already changed the front wheel. Just in the process of setting up camp for the night. Where the wine is, that's what I was doing while I was changing the wheel. I was whining.
That's not the kind of wine that I...
Oh, you're thinking more about dining type whining. Oh well, there she is, Lady Muckle, sitting back ready to go eating her cheese and bickies. It's approaching 6 PM, just off the Great Central Road, Wednesday night. It is beautiful out here. I don't know whether the reds of the sky are coming out or not in this, but geez, it looks nice. There's a campfire going here, and there, just rising in the distance through the trees, is a full moon. "6:30 Thursday morning. Me and a lot of little friends. Boy, they are sticky out here. That's where we were for the night. You can just see standing in the middle of the road. There we go, there's a bush turkey for you. This is the gravel of the Great Central Highway, and beyond it, a strip of bitumen. 1.5 kilometres or 2 kilometres long, and that's the airstrip for the Royal Flying Doctor Service, and it's situated Chukarila Roadhouse, just over there.